So, welcome to the second season of Fallen World. This is basically, I decided to set it up into two separate seasons where every 10 episodes is going to be a new season because last week I did this movie length episode. It was almost an hour and 50 minutes, I think. And I definitely didn't want it to be that long, but it happened. And I just kind of realized that I said everything that I wanted to say for that topic. And I feel like the first 10 episodes were kind of covering existentialism and like moral philosophy, which, thinking about moral philosophy is how I kind of got the idea to do this. But I wanted to talk more about like social issues and political stuff. So that's what the second season is going to be about. And then I'm probably going to do episode 20 is going to be another really big one. So episode 11 is called The Broken System. And as usual, for anybody new to this, I have these broken down into 3 chapters every time, and if you check it when it's published tomorrow, you'll have all the chapters in the description. You're not really supposed to use those to skip around. I really don't like people skipping through stuff because you don't know what you're missing. But if you've already seen it and you want to go back to a certain part, the chapter times in the description are easy and good for that, which is why you know, I do it after it's published, and also I can't do it until after it's published because I haven't made the video yet, so there's also that, but it kind of works out. So anyway, chapter 1. This one, I was originally going to call it The Illusion of Power, but I felt like I wanted to have all the titles be kind of consistent. So chapter 1 is called The Powerful Illusion, chapter 2 is called The Empty Pursuit, and chapter 3 is called The Freak Show. And I felt like it would stand out if chapter 1 was called The Illusion of Power. I don't know. I wanted it to all of them be 3 words. So it's like a weird OCD reason to do something, but it gets the point across. The powerful illusion. And I basically just write sentences underneath each chapter to remind me of what I want to talk about, but I don't have like an actual script because generally I know what I want to say already. That's why I'm doing this, because I have stuff to say, it's in my head, and I'm going to say it whether anyone's listening or not. It says I have 0 people watching right now. I had a couple people come in and it said 1 and then it said 2 and now it says 0. So anyway, without further ado, this has been kind of a long intro. I'm just going to get right into it. Chapter 1. So the first sentence I have is, you only ever have as much power as you're given. So the power is never really yours. It's not real if it can just be taken away from you. I mean, all it really takes is where does power come from? Power comes from control and fear. It's when you have people that think that you can do whatever you want to them, so they do whatever you say, and that's what gives you power. But what does real power look like? Is real power when you don't need people to be afraid of you in order to get them to do what you want? You can just telekinetically control them, or I don't know, find some other way, blackmail. I mean, like, what really is power? Just scaring them with how big and strong you are, how many weapons you have, how much money you have, all the dirt you have on them. What is it? It all depends on the other person. So it's not really your power. It's just you trying to find ways to worm around. The one universal law that I firmly believe in is that we all have free will, and that nothing and no one can ever take that away from us. You're always going to have your free will, which is why you can look at someone who is born with all the worst kinds of mental disabilities that can just leave you, whether you're like a vegetable or you're just, a lot of people, and this really irritates me, a lot of people use like mental struggles as an excuse to just not be a good person. And the problem with that is that it's not true. It's not an excuse, because I guarantee you there are other people who have the exact same condition that you have, and somehow they're good people. So what are you trying to do? And that's the thing, is that it doesn't really matter what's affecting you, because it's still your choice. Nobody's gonna force your hand to pull the trigger on somebody, or nobody's going to force you to say some horrible thing to a person. Like, things like, I don't know. I don't want to name disorders and problems because I really don't have as thorough of an understanding of them as I would need to talk about them like this. But just, I think there are certain things that people think excuse not okay behavior. And that's not to say that, people have tics and things that they can't get rid of that can sometimes indirectly hurt people. But a tic is not the same thing. And I feel like I'm a little bit sidetracked here. But the main point that I want to make is that it's up to you at the end of the day what kind of person you want to be. And you can choose to you can just choose fear or faith. It's pretty much all there really is. So you can try to trick people into giving you power, but the effect won't last. So we're still on the powerful illusion, so I have to talk about this. And, it's not going to last. Whatever, excuse me. I swear I've burped in every single one of these. I don't know. I told you last week, although I'm sure nobody knows because it was such a long video, I doubt anyone watched it all the way through. But I said last week, try to find one of my videos where I don't burp and let me know, because I don't think I made it through a single episode without burping. But anyway, yeah, the effect won't last. So what that means is if you trick people into giving you power through all the stuff that I was mentioning before, the manipulation, the blackmail, whatever it is, it's just temporary. It's not a solid foundation, and it's not real power. And then at a certain point, you have to ask yourself why you want power. What are you craving it for? What do you need power for? And ultimately, the main reason for that is for survival or to avoid pain. I think, staying alive and not being in pain are the two main things that we want. We want to be comfortable. Nobody likes being uncomfortable. People just want to be in comfortable situations all the time. People want to be as far from death as possible all the time. And nobody wants to ever be in pain or anything like pain. We basically just, I can't talk about this now because it's part of chapter 3. It's the last thing I have written, so I'm gonna just brush over it really quick, and then we'll talk about it in more detail at the end. People need to stop trying to figure everything out and think of sort of this push the button and then be done with it. You want to just figure this out, take care of it, and now I can relax. I have security around my house. I have guns. I have whatever it is. Now I don't have to worry about anything. The reality of it is you're more likely to just slip and fall and die in the shower. Hi, Elaine. Yeah, people don't realize how close they are to death throughout the day. You could just have a heart attack and die. I don't People need to stop being so afraid of death and so resistant to learning about it and understanding it. Because death is one of the only things that's guaranteed to happen to you at some point, and yet it's one of the things that almost everyone is terrified of and unwilling to learn about. I mean, even people who think they know what's going to happen when they die still don't want to die. They're very against the idea of it. And you shouldn't die. I think it goes without saying. You didn't come here to die. If we were here to just die, then everything would just be pointless. There'd be no anything. Like if the universe were here to just eventually stop existing, there'd be no point in it existing in the first place. And when I say the universe, I'm not referring to the universe as we know it. I'm referring to like everything in existence. So I know a lot of people, yeah, not afraid of dying but suffering. That's what I mean. Like it's either pain or death or both. And I used to when I was like, I want to say 13 or 14, I used to just be so against living here because it was just such a mess. I was like, I wanted to die, and I believed that there was going to be some magical thing that was going to happen. And I never did anything to myself because I couldn't think of a way to kill myself that wouldn't hurt. I didn't want to be in pain. So nothing ever happened. And, luckily nothing ever happened, because by the time I would have found a way to do it that's quick and painless, I didn't want to die. But I don't think suicide is accurately represented. A lot of people think that it's just a terrible thing. You should never do it, and you'll have horrible consequences in whatever afterlife you believe in if you don't do it. A lot of people believe different things about suicide, but even atheists who believe nothing happens when you die still think suicide is wrong. But they wouldn't necessarily like be terrified for you because they don't believe that there's anything else other than what you see in the physical world, which to me is a little bit closed-minded since there's no proof that there's nothing else. So you're still believing in something. You're still putting faith into something. There's no way to get around that. There's faith either way. Unless you literally see a gigantic map of everything in existence with solid proof and answers to everything. If there is a piece missing from that map, or if there isn't proof that everything in the map is true, then you do have to insert faith. At some point, you have to believe in something. Try to fill in the blank with something that makes sense to you. And people who don't think that's the case are lying to themselves, and that's all that there is to it. So I'm going to move on to chapter 2, because chapter 2 is called The Empty Pursuit. And this one is sort of leading into what I'm going to be talking about in chapter 3, but I think it's necessary to just brush through it. The reason that I'm skipping is because I got a little bit sidetracked, and the whole reason I have this is to keep me on path with what I want to say. So it's different in every country, but there is a consistency that when you really stop and look at all the systems in the world, and systems I'm referring to like societies and economy, culture, all of these things that people believe in. And culture, there's a reason that it has the word cult in it, just putting that out there. But you really have to stop and look at all of this carefully and notice what it all has in common. And I think that we have a lot of almost all major societies and systems in the world. The foundation is not solid because the people are not living their best lives. They're not happy. They are sort of part of a cult mentality, and they're not really able to branch out and be themselves and live freely. There's this fear that they have to be a certain way. And I think that the things that it has in common, it's all really different in different countries, in different cultures and systems and everything. But I'm most familiar with what goes on in America, and I think that America's system can kind of be used as an example for, you can notice what is going on in America and just sort of notice what it has in common with what's going on in your own country. And that I guarantee you there will be similarities. And I think the consistency will be fear and control, which the control is, a lot of people don't really understand what they're talking about. I just was watching this video earlier today about this Christian talking about the Bible, and I was hearing a lot of what he was saying and noticing a lot of hypocrisy and irony. I just thought to myself, do you even hear what you're saying? He thinks, genuinely, wholeheartedly believes that he is practicing what he preaches, but he has such a basic understanding of what he's even saying that he doesn't know how to practice what he's preaching. He thinks he's doing it, but it's not that simple. Nothing in life is that simple, and it shouldn't be, because you're not supposed to just push a button and then go along for the ride and not have to worry about anything. You're supposed to be active, and you're supposed to be thinking. And there are people who can do the complex work for you, geniuses and like people like Albert Einstein who can think about numbers and equations and figure stuff out. These people exist for a reason. You're supposed to listen to them, but you're not supposed to just read a book and assume that you're interpreting every aspect of it correctly, and to also assume that every aspect of it is true. There's a lot of good advice in the Bible that he was reading. I was hearing a lot of it and thinking, yeah, I agree with this, but that's not what you're doing. You're using it wrong, the way you're talking about it. And that wasn't just me disagreeing with it. I actually had, like, logically, I could explain why it was wrong. It wasn't just, I disagree with this because I don't like it. It was, here is exactly how and why this does not make sense. This is what you're missing. This is the pieces that are not there. And he could not do that to me. You couldn't do it in the reverse. And that's what, that's the problem. People aren't open to learning. Is somebody coming downstairs? Okay, sorry about that. I think my aunt just was about to come downstairs. Maybe she forgot I was doing this. Anyway, I live with 4 other people. I live with my mom and my grandparents and my aunt. So they all know I do this every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and they all go into their rooms so I can have my privacy for like a half hour. But sometimes things happen and there's noises and distractions. What was I saying? Yeah, I'll just see where I left off. A system built around the wrong values will eventually fall apart. America's system can be used as an example for the sake of comparison. Yeah, I think I've said everything in chapter 2. Maybe I should move on to chapter 3. Chapter 3, The Freak Show. This is named after a thing that George Carlin said. He's one of my favorite comedians because everything he says is still so relevant, and every single one of his stand-up shows, it just got more and more interesting as he got older. He just opened his mouth and just saw the world and wasn't afraid. And I think what he said is he has no stake in the outcome. He kind of saw humanity as just sort of circling the drain and going downhill, and he rooted for our species' destruction and therefore didn't really care about how anything turned out. So he wasn't afraid to see things as they really were, and he talked about it a lot. And he was a good person, you know. He actually, like, if you met him one-on-one, he liked people individually, but not in groups, because people in large groups are just inherently dumber and more reactionary, because there's the very good reason for this, and this is what I'm gonna talk about in chapter 3. He called the world the freak show. He said, when you're born into this world, you're given a ticket to the freak show, and if you're born in America, you're given a front row seat. And that's why most of his content was about America. But I think that he was right about a lot of things, but I don't know that a lot of people understood it. I feel like most people agreed with him, but I just want to not say anything in a way that comes off as controversial, because my only intention is just to point things out, and then you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's what's going on. And I want to give you a solution too. I don't want you to just say, oh, hey, this is what's going on and I'm annoyed about it and I don't know what to do. You have to make sure, if you're going to point something out to someone, and this is why I don't believe in judgment. This is the thing. The Christian that I was telling you about earlier, who was, preaching about the Bible, was talking about something that people say, like, who are you to judge? And what's interesting about that is that he defended judgment by saying, hello. I couldn't read that because it pops up and then disappears after like 3 seconds. But hello, because that's basically what it said. I'll read it in the live chat replay tomorrow when it's published. But he was defending judgment and saying that it's okay to judge people in like certain circumstances. And the reason he said that, here's what he said. He said that if you tell someone that it's not okay to judge, you are yourself judging them and being hypocritical. And I thought that was really interesting because it's just simply not true. Because there's a huge difference between judging someone and handing someone a stick to get out of a hole. You know, when someone is in a hole trying to get out and you throw down a stick so you can pull them up, that's not judgment, that's help. That's a helping hand. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to grab onto it. That doesn't mean that you're supposed to be offering them help, because there are situations where, trying to help someone is actually having the opposite effect and you're just enabling them. And that's a really important distinction to make. You have to be careful not to just be super overgiving, because that doesn't just hurt other people, that hurts you too, to be an overgiver. You have to be careful with that. It's not good for anyone to be an overgiver or to ignore boundaries, but that's a whole separate topic, and I feel like I've already talked about that a little bit, and I've linked you in the last video. I've like thank you. I've put links to videos and stuff that you should check out. So there is actually a video called "Stay in Your Lane" and "Stop Overgiving Without the Guilt," and you can find those in a playlist I have called Ivy Rivera Free Mini Classes. It's some of the newer ones. You'll see them because I just told you what they're called. So you can check those out if you want more information on that. But basically, I just want to skip over that really quick. Sometimes it's not okay to help someone because you're not actually helping them. It's always okay to help someone, but you just have to know what help is. You have to know what love is. If you're making the loving decision, or if you're making a decision coming from a place of ego. And ego is just you. It's just you inserting yourself where you really don't belong. It's you assuming more responsibility than you really have. Because I think of like it's just your body. It's just your personality. It's you, but it's not really your authentic self. It's not like your higher mind. And you should always be listening to your higher mind and who you truly are instead of just who you think you are. But that's, again, a whole nother topic. And there's another video in that playlist called How to Check Your Ego. And that's, I think, the 6th one in the playlist. So there's some homework if you want to watch those. But it's worth it. A lot of people don't like watching long things, but I guarantee you that you spend way more time doing and watching far less interesting or important things. And if you're gonna watch it again, don't skip around. Pay attention. It's useful. You have to be open-minded because there's really nothing else to do. I'm not there yet. That's my closing statement, my last thing that I want to elaborate on. I've been a little bit all over the place this episode, but it's okay. Everything is okay. Don't expect integrity from someone who might benefit from lying to you. Before I say that, I just am gonna move on. I'm not gonna move on. I just want to finish what I was saying about the judgment really quick. I think what this guy was saying is that judgment and helping someone is the same thing, and it's not. You don't have to judge someone to offer a helping hand, to say, actually, it doesn't benefit anyone to be judgmental. Saying that doesn't mean you're judging them. You're just telling them that it's pointless. You're giving them useful information that maybe they didn't have before. And if you're judging someone, what's really happening is you are assuming more responsibility than you have. You're kind of playing God, which is ironic for a Christian. And, or maybe it's not ironic, but I'm pretty sure that's one of the things that they don't believe in. You're not supposed to play God. But they do, often, anyway. And, if you think that you're going to judge someone, it's just going to stress you out, because you are taking them in and making them your business, making them your project. Now you have to worry about this person's business. You have to, and you're telling yourself that it's caring. You're telling yourself that it's love. Well, I love this person. I want the best for this person, so I'm judging them. Do you hear yourself? You're judging them. They're just going to feel attacked. They're going to feel like there's this giant spotlight shining on them, and they're going to feel like, well, maybe I wasn't being perfect enough for this person's standards. They're not going to want to be around you. This is how you steer people away. This is how you do the opposite of help them. So there is no excuse. Judgment is wrong 100% of the time, no exceptions. And that's just a fact. It's not up for debate. You can try, but you will lose. I've had this conversation before, so it's really there's no arguing with me because I don't say things unless I know it's true. If I'm not certain about something, I'll let you know I'm not certain. Um, like I don't take things lightly when I'm talking about stuff. I know what I'm talking about, and I don't try to pretend I understand something I don't because it annoys me when people do that. Obviously. But don't expect integrity from someone who might benefit from lying to you. This is the biggest problem with America because people don't like to stop and think about how many people, how many big, wealthy corporations exist that benefit from our suffering. Think about doctors who need you to be sick. Think about police who need there to be crime. Think about all of these things that literally benefit from problems, health problems, um, morality problems, people thinking it's okay to just shoot whoever they want and do whatever they want. Like, that's the what would happen to all of the people in the medical profession in this country? Did somebody just quote Lady Gaga? I think somebody just said, I don't speak German, but I can if you like. That's a line from one of her songs. Um, and and I started reading that thinking that it was one of my subscribers who doesn't speak English, and then I think it's not, it's the other way around. Um, I have a lot of subscribers who are from Brazil or who don't speak English. Um, yeah, I got it. Okay. So, anyway, sorry about that. I don't like having distractions because I want people to be able to watch this without feeling like they need to skip past parts. And I can't really upload edited versions because I can't listen to myself for that long. I can't sit and watch a 30-minute video and cut out parts because I'm going to lose my mind before I finish. Um, there I did. I burped again. Anyway, we don't want to believe that people can benefit from lying to us. But I guarantee you, your therapist, your doctor, these people aren't necessarily always going to tell you the truth. Because if it would benefit them to lie to you, to tell you that you're not doing well, or to make you sicker, these things we know are just completely wrong and immoral. But somehow, when it comes to money, people think that it's okay. People make exceptions. And that's a really important thing to think about because we don't like to believe that. And we have a big problem with like things like Reiki and psychic surgery and mediumship because these things can literally heal your life. That's like been proven. Um, People who learn to get in touch with their intuition and their roots and spirit, people who learn to heal other people and take care of themselves are suddenly doing so much better in their life. They're healthier. They're not really, like Ivy Rivera has had people, she has this academy where she basically teaches people to do all of these things. And people that she's trained, it's like a 6 month training and it's just like every Wednesday. It's not super time consuming and it's really not super expensive in comparison to other similar trainings that are out there. And it's way more beneficial because she's had therapists and doctors come in and ask her, I've had this client who I've been seeing for years, and as soon as they started going to you, suddenly all of their problems just started going away, and I don't know how you did this. And doctors saying, this person's been sick for so long, and you just, like, what happened? And they come to her baffled and ask her how they did this, and they learn about it, and, they do it themselves. And they're like, I wish I could tell people about this. I wish I could talk to my clients and people that I work with, but I'm not, it's unprofessional. I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to talk about this. And another big issue is that it would limit big pharma if people knew that you could heal yourself, that you could be healthy if you just took the time to learn about all of this stuff. Imagine a world with healthy people and lower crime rates. Imagine all the people who would be out of business in this world. And the problem is that this system was not built to expect people to be healthy. It was built on this idea that we need power and control. So the country sort of turned into a pyramid scheme where, there's people at the bottom doing all the work and then it goes up and then at the top it's just people raking in all the cash. And they just keep at the people at the bottom giving them things to fight over, giving them things to care about, a cause to be passionate about and advocate for. Well, they just don't. They have no stake in it. They just don't care. They just want your money, and it's this. It's like when you just die inside. When you have decided that money and power is all that matters. Again, why do you crave it? For survival. Because the main things we want as humans is to not have pain and to be alive. And the easiest way to get that is if you are rich, you can really enjoy life and make the most out of it when you have a nice mansion and a lot of money and a lot of security. Security means you're going to live a long time, and a lot of money means you're going to have a good time while you're alive. So these are the things that we're taught to value and pursue. And it's an empty pursuit. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you what you really want because it's turning off your life. And with the pyramid system, they just sort of they want to keep people just smart enough to do work, but not smart enough to actually think and figure out how to do what they're supposed to do. They benefit from you not being intelligent. And it's not that we're not smart, although a lot of Americans are pretty dumb, but even the smart ones still don't really understand what to do and what's actually going on. And that's because of the way that we're raised. We don't realize how far back into our childhoods this goes, because as soon as you are born into this world, left and right, you are hearing all of these words from people who are part of this system already, who've been brainwashed, talking to you, telling you things that are just not true, telling you things that without really putting a lot of thought into it themselves. And then you just hear it and you don't know, you just think you should believe it. And people lie to their kids a lot. People think it's okay to be dishonest because kids are too stupid to understand. Their brains are too small. They're not going to get it. Why bother even trying to explain it? And they lie to their kids about the weirdest things sometimes. And they treat kids like they're another species, like they forgot that they ever were a kid. I guarantee you, if you actually stop and look back at your childhood and try to remember being like 3 years old, you're going to remember that you were actually able to understand a lot more than you gave yourself credit for, or that you give another kid credit for. You just don't know because nobody tried to explain anything to you. Nobody tried to answer your questions. And kids will actually listen. The thing is that with an adult, there are questions adults can ask that are not going to be easy to answer. And it's going to be easier to just say, I don't care to explain this to you right now, because you're not going to get it. But a kid will get it. That's the whole thing. A kid will listen to you. A kid wants to learn. And a kid isn't going to be asking super crazy complex questions. Although I remember being 3 years old in the backseat of the car with my grandma, and I said, hey, what does it feel like to not exist? Like, what is nothing? And what was the universe like before it existed and stuff like that? I don't know how I was having these thoughts at that age, but she was stumped. She didn't even know what to tell me. And the thing is that there are a lot of adults who would try to answer that, or who would just lie. A stork dropped you on my doorstep, or whatever people come up with. People just don't like to answer questions, to have deep thoughts, and people don't like to encourage other people to do it. And when you start doing that, you start to realize that life is not really about pushing a button and going for the ride. And this is my last topic for the day. We have to stop trying to figure everything out so we can be done working. That's what it is. It's this autopilot that we want to activate. We just want to have money, nice house. I did it. Now what? Now what? Really ask yourself that. What comes after that? We want to die and get to heaven. We want to be good so we'll get to heaven. Well, then what? I've had people tell me that when you're in heaven, somehow you don't get bored. Like, there's a function, like they turn off the ability to be bored. They didn't explain how. They just said that you wouldn't be bored. But that doesn't really make sense. I think if you are somewhere for eternity and there's no work to do, you're just kind of there, boredom will happen. But that's a thing that people believe. I don't really believe in a place to end up, because I don't believe that that would work if you were alive. And if it wouldn't work while you were alive, I don't understand. I mean, what exactly is a Christian supposed to do? Are you supposed to live for the rest of your life and then just die and go to heaven? Or are you doing work? Is there something you're supposed to be doing? Like, why bother? It just doesn't make sense. Somebody's still doing something upstairs. I better get going. It's been 35 minutes, I think. I think I read that number correctly. Yeah, 35:07. I need glasses. But anyway, yeah. I think I've definitely went over everything I have written, but I don't feel like I'm done talking. I keep getting distracted because I keep hearing noises and people keep leaving comments, and then I get pulled away from what I'm thinking. Well, if anybody has any questions or anybody can remind me what I was saying last, that would be that would be helpful. I swear, if I burp one more time, this is embarrassing. Hey, look, I got 6 likes. That's cool. 6. That's better than what I usually get. Yeah, so this is just the first episode. I am going to be talking about all of this in a lot more detail on the 20th episode when I kind of do the big wrap-up finale. But in the next 9 weeks, I'm going to be doing episodes covering a bunch of different topics. So if there's anything I didn't mention, any unfinished thoughts here, go ahead and ask me in the comments. Tell me what I didn't finish and I'll reply to you. I never get conversations started up in the comments, but I always want that, so please leave comments. And if I remember what I forgot to say, I'll just leave it in a comment. But either way, I am going to come back to this in episode 20. Next week, I'm doing a special for Valentine's Day called Romance and Heartbreak, and we're going to be talking about relationships and just how it feels to have your heart broken. Because I feel like that's something that you can't really describe, and I feel like that could be just a good way to interact with my audience, because I feel like that's a pretty common thing. Unfortunately, a lot of people on Valentine's Day are single and are not really enjoying it, so you can come hang out with me at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll talk about that. So the week after that, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I have a couple ideas. I want to do one on cancel culture. Like I said, the next 10 episodes, next 9 episodes, because this is one of the 10, is going to be about like social issues and politics. This one was a little bit of both, and mainly talking about like a pyramid scheme and how it's a broken system because it doesn't last, because nobody's happy. You know, you're missing something. You feel like something isn't quite right. You feel like, I mean, what is the point of having a society of miserable people? If the one thing we can all agree on is that things aren't quite right, then something's not right, and we need to figure out what it is and do something about it. So, what I think I said I was going to give solutions. So, my solution is just be active in understanding what's going on. Don't be depressed. Don't get this pessimistic attitude that it's just like that we are just circling the drain, like George Carlin had said. And you know, that's not necessarily a bad mentality to have. Like, I'm not judging him for it, but I don't think that it's productive, because I don't believe that we are just gonna eventually just die, that there's no point in humanity. I think there's a lot more to it than that. He was an atheist. I'm not an atheist, obviously. So yeah, there's a lot more going on. You just have to be active, and you'll figure everything out. Like activism and just understanding it. Just keep learning and share what you learn. When you go through pain, when you go through hardships in life and you heal, you're supposed to take those lessons and give them out to other people. And when you don't do that, you're not really, it's not gonna help you. So yeah, that's that. Thank you for watching. This was a little longer than I wanted it to be, but it's okay. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next week for Valentine's Day. And happy Valentine's Day.